This is All Saints Station on the Docklands Light Railway. All Saints Station is in East London on the branch line to Stratford. It's actually the second station on this site. The first has the dubious distinction of being the most bombed station in Britain. The original station was called Poplar. During the steam age, there were 3 stations called Poplar, none of which were on the site of the modern Poplar station. The modern Poplar station is on the site of a station called Millwall Junction, which is not in Millwall. Are we clear? Probably not, but let's just smile and nod for now. This Poplar station is often referred to as Poplar East India Road for clarity. It was originally opened on the 1st of August 1866 by the North London Railway. The line actually predated the station having been built for goods trains in 1852. The original purpose of the North London Railway was to haul freight from the docks, but it quickly became best known as a commuter railway. Passenger trains originally ran from Broad Street up through Hackney and down towards the river, terminating here. There were typically 4 trains an hour. Goods trains, meanwhile, continued on to the docks. In fact, Poplar Dock was built for the North London Railway. Somewhat inconveniently, though, the waterways between the dock and the river were owned by the West India Dock Company, who allowed vessels through on condition that they wouldn't compete with their own interests. But back to dry land. The station was a single-storey building in typical North London Railway style. Here are some other North London Railway stations to illustrate what that is. It could boast a parcels office and sidings for carriages and wagons, which are still here. In 1870, passenger trains started to go further, running over the London and Blackwall Railway to Blackwall. From there, passengers could catch a steamer to Woolwich or Gravesend. In 1890, though, they abandoned this service and cut the connection to the London and Blackwall. While the North London Railway was a popular commuter route in the 19th century, by the beginning of the 20th century things were changing. Underground trains arrived in East London thanks to the Whitechapel and Bow Railway, which is now part of the District Line. So too did trams. The trams were cheaper and the tube was more direct, so the North London Railway didn't really have a niche anymore. In 1909, working of the railway was taken over by the much larger London and North Western Railway, with whom the NLR had always had a fairly cosy relationship. But you're probably wondering, what was all that about the most bombed station in Britain? Well, that's due to the Second World War. The docks were essential to the functioning of London, so it will be no surprise that they were the target of air raids. So too were the railways leading out of them. On several occasions the lines were damaged by bombs, and the plate layers became very adept at rebuilding damaged track in a hurry. In May of 1941, for instance, the signal box immediately south of the station was completely destroyed. 2 weeks later it was back in service. This did not help with the issue of passenger numbers, which had actually been showing signs of recovery in the years leading up to the war. But now the train service was not only slow but unreliable. There was a good chance that your train would be cancelled because some inconsiderate so-and-so had blown the track up. So on the 15th of May 1944, the London Midland and Scottish Railway, who now owned the line, decided to suspend services. Now this might not have been the end, but 1 month later a V-1 flying bomb scored a direct hit and wrecked the station. There was no way services were going to be reinstated after that, so in March 1947 the demolition men moved in to finish what the Luftwaffe had started. And that was it for a long time. The ghostly remains of the station platforms and part of the booking office were visible from passing goods trains. From the 1960s onwards, the docks too went into decline. British Rail would dispose of Poplar Dock in 1981, closing the line through Poplar completely in 1983. In 1986, Broad Street and the line leading into it would get the axe. But even now, when things looked bleaker than they ever had before, Poplar and the line through it would find a new purpose. The docks were being regenerated thanks to the London Docklands Development Corporation, and as part of this, a low-budget metro system was to be built. This was the Docklands Light Railway. The DLR recycled disused or underused sections of the railway system in East London. Stratford was one of the first stations planned for this new system, and the North London Railway's Poplar branch was the perfect candidate to reach it. The DLR line would follow the Great Eastern Railway from Stratford to Bow, then the North London Railway from Bow to Poplar, then the old Millwall Extension Railway to Millwall. As this seemed like a pretty good place to build a station when there wasn't a war on, one was planned. The powers that be seem not to have considered recycling the name Poplar, although Poplar High Street was considered. So was East India Dock Road. But in the end, All Saints, named after a nearby church, was chosen. The new station opened on the 31st of August 1987. The current station is very much according to the DLR standard, 2 platforms with modular canopies. Little side note, you may have noticed that the signs advertise this as the station for Crisp Street Market. This is a rather well-known site, built in 1951 as part of the Festival of Britain. It was the first pedestrianised shopping area in the UK and was intended to showcase Britain's architectural talent. The clock tower in particular is a famous local landmark. But back to the station. These days there's very little to indicate that there had ever been anything here before the DLR arrived. All Saints is a busy station, but let's hope it never undergoes a period as exciting as its predecessor. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If so, please do click the like button to let YouTube know, and consider subscribing for more. I would like to thank my donors on Ko-fi and Patreon and here on YouTube as ever for your generous support. You are the hard-working plate layers to my exploded track. And I'll see you all again very soon. Cheerio.